Hey, this is Danielle over at DIYDanielle.com, and today I want to show you my garden. So this is my food forest garden that I have been working on for the past 3 years, and it's coming along. So this is the first year we're actually going to have hopefully a full garden if nothing gets in there and eats it. We have double fencing, so hopefully that won't happen. So let me give you the tour, and this is of course the freshly planted tour, so just keep that in mind. Nothing's really growing quite yet. Okay, so the main thing I did is many years ago I planted a couple of raspberry bushes. So as you can see, they're starting to take over, and I just put up a trellis this year. Along here I've got a couple of tomato plants. I've got some basil. I've got oregano growing underneath my pear tree. More tomatoes over here. They're looking a little droopy because I planted them today, gave them minimal watering, but it's going to rain for 3 days, so I'm hoping that'll work out well for me. I think this is celery. We got basil, oregano. We've got another pear tree that was falling over, so I tacked it onto this. I connected it to this. I figured I could maybe like bend it over, maybe like a _𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐤 style, but we'll see. Now, one of the things I started with, I actually built my garden around these 2 apple trees. These 2 apple trees were, the last owner told me, oh, they're always wormy. I came in, I started pruning them. The first year, did heavy pruning. And then I have been cutting off limbs that had those worms, like, you know, the netting that you see, like the spider web stuff. Those actually have a bunch of worms in them. I burn them. And I've been trying to do that, so I'm hoping this year will be better. Last year I saw 1 good apple on there and I was so excited, so I'm hoping this year will be even better. This is one of the 3 cherry bushes I bought. That's the other one next to the, it might be another one next to the pear tree, I'm not sure. I had 2 more, I don't think they survived. I believe this, I forget what the name of this. Onions I planted, I believe. I have some strawberries. I was hoping that they would just kind of take over, but they're taking their time. This is hyssop. I planted dahlias, maybe? Just little seedlings, just teeny ones. Again, I think that's celery. I planted tons of herbs under here, so I actually had to relocate them because I moved the goat house out here because the goats are using the barn now. And what I'm going to do is finish this off, put a top on it, and store my tools in here. That way I can easily access them in the garden instead of having to go back to the garage. I added all of these around here because this connects to my chicken run. So this chicken run goes around my garden. And if you search chicken moat garden, you'll see it. I have a whole video on it. I'll give you a tour of it, but I've got elderberry bushes in here that I don't think the chickens can kill because they are crazy. Like, look how big those are. And then I have a horseradish plant here that I'm hoping will take over. Sage. I think some of these are just weeds or like maybe baby apple trees. I'm not 100%. I've got some oregano again, more oregano. I've got comfrey over here. I love the smell of sage when it's dry. Hate the smell when it's fresh. Can't handle it. This is Italian parsley. I've got some onions. I've got some dill here. I have more dill that I planted, but planted seedlings for, but it's not up. Onions here, and then I have a whole bunch of corn over here. I did not realize, I actually did these in like a little greenhouse thing that I'm going to eventually blog post about, but haven't done it yet. But I did the little seedlings separate and just planted them today. I've never done it like that, but every year that I do seeds in the ground, I think the birds get them. Over there you can see some bags. Those plastic bags are actually around some pawpaw trees. So I'm hoping if they actually grow and survive, I'm hoping at least a couple will. I'll 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐤 them along the edge here. So that way they aren't too high and blocking the view, but kind of go around instead. I also have 3 watermelon plants over there that are kind of hiding on the very edge. I've got some marigolds growing on the outside. This is my grape plant. I have another one. Sorry, I've got to look where I'm going here. I've got a grape plant here that's been kind of taking off. This is my peach tree. I've got another grape plant. I've got some volunteers that, because I use wood chips, I had some volunteer black walnut trees. I'm letting them do their thing, kind of. I'll cut them down eventually. I didn't have energy for it this year. And then there's some comfrey coming back. That stuff will come back. It is persistent, but I do like it, and it's easy to just pull up if I don't want anymore. And it's good for feeding to livestock, apparently. I've got a little lavender there. I'm hoping to get more lavender. I had a bunch planted, and I also had a bunch of milkweed planted that I'm waiting to get a little bit bigger before I transplant it. So I've got cauliflower and broccoli on the inside, and then I have pole beans on the outside. A couple might be bush beans, but a few are pole beans. And I'm hoping they will crawl up this and kind of cover it like a, I don't know, like a little fort for the kids. The reason I did this, I was hoping that these would, I think they don't like the heat that we get sometimes, the broccoli and the cauliflower. So I'm hoping that by the time these get big enough to shade these will be needing the shade, if that makes sense. I've got a few watermelon over there. I've got a nasturtium coming up here. And I am back to the other side here. Said I got the watermelon, the cantaloupe there. And then, forget what that is. Basil, lavender. And then there's nothing over here. I really need to plant something over here that'll take over because the black walnut is doing the job. And I don't like that. As you can see, the raspberries got volunteers popping up everywhere. And I've been trying to transplant them back here and there as I get them. Because I do kind of want more in this row. But it is a little bit of a pain in the butt because you need gloves. And then my husband got me the filter here that has a UV light in it. And we dug and we put a pond liner in, and we just put some rocks around this. I'm hoping to get some pond plants and maybe some other types of plants to go around here. If you have any suggestions for plants that would work well around the outside of this, let me know. I'd love to plant some sort of ground cover that goes around and would look nice. So for the next few days, it's going to rain, which is why I planted today. I did a little bit of watering, but it's going to rain heavy for the next 3 days. So I'm hoping that helps everything grow. I've got these are trees that I'm supposed to plant, but I need to actually get them in other areas of my yard. So I'm hoping those will survive. There's something called healed in, and I don't know if I did it right, but hopefully it'll work. So yeah, so my chickens are locked in their smaller run right now because I don't want them flying over and eating this. I don't think, I've done a pretty good job keeping them from flying over, but occasionally one gets in. And I think one chicken could do a lot of damage right after I planted it. So I'm hoping, it's a little bit better in a few days and I can let them back out into the chicken run, the big chicken run. They would appreciate that. But I didn't want to risk my garden. But it's so pretty. I love how it's coming, and that's where we're at. And I'll definitely do a tour later in the year, and hopefully this will not have all been eaten up. In the past years, deer came in here because I only had this fence and they would just jump it. But now that we have the electric here, hey, it's on. You're so silly. Actually, it's not on. I think they will not jump it with the double fence, I hope. So we'll see. Alrighty, thanks so much. Take care.